Green mint.
We're at
Okay, we're coming back in. Come on in. Okay, we're going to roll forward here with the second half, and thanks. First of all, thank you all for coming this evening, and I want to thank Neil Aiken for our reading, and so let's thank him again. It's Ghost Town Poetry Open Mic. If you haven't been before, here you are now. Perhaps your first time. You missed half, but we're going to come with the second half here and give you something, certainly another reason to come back again next time. We're going to start with our open mic reader here tonight, Scott. We're going to call you up. Come on up, Scott.
Who's going to fix the mic stand, Scott?
You are, Ian. Come show me how it's done. Hello, beautiful people.
Hey.
I'm Scott. I'm going to read a poem for you. Before I do that, you may have noticed playing with the mic stand, helping people out. I used to offer to give short lessons on the mic stand to anyone that was interested, but no one bit, so I'm just going to do it anyway while you're all listening.
Sorry, I wasn't listening.
Thanks. Okay, if you need to move the mic up or down, the easiest thing to do is just turn this one to the left. It will go down. It will go up. If you're like Dane and you're this tall, you might need a little extra. Or if you need the mic to be closer to you, you can come this way. And if your name's Ian, then you might do something like this and read to us like this. Oh, and the last thing is don't, if you want to learn what's going on here, don't worry about breaking this mic stand. I donated it. If you break it, I won't even be mad. So have some fun.
Sounds like a challenge.
Yeah.
Not for you. You're excluded, everybody else. I said if you're trying to learn and you break it, it's okay. If you're trying to break it and you break it, you're a jerk. Okay. What is money, anyway? Bits of paper, digits on a screen, or just the fact that you owe something to somebody? So many answers, so many right. It seems to be whatever we agree to value universally as interconnected, transactional communities. As US Americans, we need USD to pay our taxes, accepted in nationally issued fiat currency, ostensibly the one true dollar bill, y'all. Where does it come from? At what rate does it inflate? Who really controls the stash? If you hold as cash, it dwindles away, so that value can stay safely at home in the bank, where savings account interest at least keeps from deflate. But what about the billions unbanked or unidentified, lacking access to Western capital markets, lifeline? Some will say gold bullion is the way to back any value vehicle, something real you can keep in your safe. It has utility as electrical conductor or for its beauty, does not decay, and is malleable enough to fraction off. But it isn't just that we want it, more for the perception, for the universal acceptance, its price floats free from any market grounded in utility, so we speculate freely. Yet it isn't known how much they'll dig up next year, nor is it clear how trash reclamation will suss out total quantities in doubt. There's a new kid on the block, radically poised to change everything we thought we knew about the nature of value. and the relationship between me and the great proverbial you. So what tricks can this fresh contender do, and why should we all pay mind to how we play with abstract representations that have everything to say about who is flesh and who suffers on societal sidelines? First, immutability. A known supply introduced predictably and reliably, accounted for as it changes hands with security and autonomy. The granddaddy, capital B, digital currency may just hold the distinction of being the most difficult record on earth to change. Let that sink in for a moment. Even colluding nation states can't shut down, seize, or interrupt payments. Call that censorship resistance. Next, globality. Anyone with a smartphone and data can send or receive these things anywhere in the world at any time. With the rapid advancement of solar panels and satellites, even infrastructure in the traditional sense is irrelevant. More than 2 billion humans, that's about 1/3 of the population worldwide, are unbanked. Now anybody can be a bank, whether they have a profit to offer the legacy system or not. Finally, programmability. Now autonomous computer programs can own and spend money without a human counterparty. And while it's still early to be making claims, insurance, investing, and governance are facing margin-crushing disruption via greater automation, and of course, the most profound implications haven't even been imagined yet. But one thing is clear, the establishment is scared. They're freaked the fuck out of what we're calling the Internet of Money is coming. Now, to address what you're probably really wondering, should you buy Bitcoin? Maybe, or maybe not. It might go up another 100 times, or you might lose it all. I am, however, confident that we'll all be using some cryptocurrency every day, someday soon. Thank you.
It's just easier. And I really appreciate the lesson. No, it's just a long way up there when you're as short as I am. Thank you, Scott. Thank you for that. I just wanted to take a minute to tell you all, and this started sort of in October, that we began talking about our campaign to raise money for our Poets in the Schools program. Poets in the Schools has been going on for 5 years here in Clark County. It was the initial project that Christopher put together when he became the Poet Laureate. It was his pet project. Proud to say it's still going on. We have 4 poets that are going into the schools each year. We have served hundreds of students. We have worked with the Poets in the Schools program to get those kids writing in order to submit their poems for Poems on the Buses, Poetry Moves. So it's really heartfelt and it's been successful. And here's what I want to tell you. We get a very small grant every year from the Arts of Clark County, and we make up the remainder of the funding through asking for donations, to sort of scrambling together what we can as a small group to be able to fund this program. No one working in the program receives, they're not employed, they receive no salary for it. There's a small honorarium and a small reimbursement for gas. Everything else people are doing because they love it. It's a labor of love. So in October, I announced that what we're trying to do is to make up a deficit. We have to raise $1,700, we hope by the end of April, to be able to fund this year's program. We have earned just slightly over $200 of that $1,700, and we're hoping to be able to raise the rest, hopefully by the end of April. So having said that, as I move this way, we have this really high-tech collection device, an old candy or cookie tin, and we accept, what is it?
It's actually virtual.
Yeah, no Bitcoins though, okay? So, if you can spare a little, anything is welcome to help us meet our goal for this year. Enough said. Okay, Ulrich, come on down. You notice the reason I didn't lower it because I know how tall you are.
It's always, that's why I try to sign up right behind Scott.
Look at that.
So I have 3 really, really short pieces that I started at the very end of this year in the past few weeks of this new year. And they're all entitled, and they're all probably not done. This is the first one. Laying with you as clouds lay in the valleys of mountains and on the beds of rivers. I come to you holding the weight of water, waiting as thunder echoes through my being and lightning tickles you. There in the crescendo of the imminent, I fall dropping and bouncing off your every leaf, landing on your floor where I collect myself in steady streams searching for your river. Between your mountains I become reality, finding myself in the dark wet amongst the roots. Before your bed, I make my way into your tributaries, the telemetry of our systems. So soothsaying I go for mysteries, meandering in your meaning. There I take a hold of the seeds you keep within the deep, where no light reaches. In your river, I become a soma sacrifice. And that's the first one. This one was on a drive to Olympia. Driving on the I-5 towards Olympia with Mount St. Helens on the horizon, I search in hopes for the daughter of the Smoky Mountain to explain the specter that sits in my psyche. There ahead a scene of feathers in disarray that give way to the subject on the road, an owl. Its carcass distorted, transmuted into something, a byproduct of civilization and nature. A path lined with bracken ferns deep in the evergreen leads to a secluded beach off the Puget Sound, where ravenous seagulls cackle for the low tide, a dying salmon circling, facing the end. Will she lay waste to the full forest of my past? There in the space of salmon and seagull, truth lies. And this is the last one. Eliot's 4 quartets softly sounds out on warm vinyl as the dappled early noon light litters in, while grits cook in crockpot and I sip honeyed black tea. A bowl of poorest suns sit casting shadowed still lifes on reality. Reflections of cars passing, their sound caught in time, hush after hush, whispering secrets between traffic lights. The hiss of a bus stopping is the symbol on the street. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to hear from Ian. Come on down, Ian.
I think it's okay.
Yeah, okay, good.
That might have been mine.
Does this belong to somebody? Is this yours? I just want to make sure you get your stuff.
Thank you so much.
So,
I'm reading this book.
I think that might take the top off of it. So be careful.
Are you trying to lower it?
So I'm reading this book.
Nice.
And well, I'm following Lee Ronaldo on the Instagram, and he takes these cool pictures and things like that. And he used to play guitar for a band called Sonic Youth, and so he's pretty like instrumental and stuff like that. And so he posted about, some guy posted a book in Brazil. It's the Brazilian copy of this book, Journals 80s. And he said, wow, it's cool that you found this in Brazilian or in Portuguese, and that it's out of print. And so I was like, well, it's out of print. I wonder if I can find it. So I went and searched at Powell's, and Powell's had it. So I picked up the copy from Powell's. And I'm reading, and there's this piece in here called, well, it starts off like 1980, 1981, 1980. Anyway, this is from 1983. And he's writing about seeing this thing. I don't know what it is. It's a piece of artwork, or if it's an installation, or what it is. But it's called Robert Smithson's Broken Circle Spiral Hill. That was completed in 1971. And it's one of those pieces of art installation that's like part of architecture, you know, part of the earth, and part of it's like those big slabs of steel that they put in the ground that they install, and then the steel like will decay and like will like, you know, that it evolves. It's a piece of artwork that evolves. And so like he's talking about looking at this 12 years later in 1983, and it's eroding, and that's part of the art experience, and that he's kind of experiencing it live. And I'm like, I have no idea. I don't have the concept of, or I don't have I don't know what he's talking about. So I looked it up, and because of the genius of the modern age is that we get to live in today, I found part of it on a couple videos on the YouTube. And so you guys can see this while I read. See
Some
the
of
works.
us here.
Yeah, if you can't see it, then you can move. There's plenty of seats right here. There's a seat right there. There's another seat back there. Let me see if I can get this to work.
I can ship perfectly.
Earning better internet.
There you go.
All right, hold on.
All right, we're holding.
Software update. Wi-Fi connection. Come on. This is the modern.
Here, Laura.
Hold on. This is the modern world we're dealing with, boys and girls.
This is convenient, right? They did this for our convenience.
Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi connecting.
We need some emergent AI. AI.
iPhone. Hotspot.
Where's Sophia when we need her?
All right, there we go. Got it. Boom. Look at that. Watch this. So, like I said, there's plenty of seats up here. Let's see if it works. All right. So you get an idea.
So that's late.
24th of November, 1983. Groningen, visiting Smithson's Broken Circle / Spiral Hill. The blood is coursing through me and I feel its rush. 3 a.m. flat in Holland night. We drove across the barren plain this afternoon. Empty fields, straight lines of trees, hogs and cows, not raining but cloudy and with Dutch mist hanging lightly everywhere. We went to MN on the way to see Smithson's Broken Circle / Spiral Hill on my insistence. Everyone either half-hearted or against it. Not able to see the beauty of a wild goose chase through the flatlands. By the time we reached MN, night had fallen, but still we pressed onwards. Too late to turn back. We were told it was down a dirt road and not to get our hopes up because it was a very disoriented, it was in a very deteriorated state. Drove the whole bumping length of the road in the just darkling night and came to the end without finding anything. Drove back along slower, found a no parking sign. Then I spot a rise of earth through the trees, which of course stands out a bit here in the sea level land. We see there is a small break in the fence with signs saying, "No trespass," and "No dogs," and "No swimming." Bunch of no's. We figure this must be it. A break in the fence, a dirt path, and yes, feeling our way through darkness, moon under cloud cover so there is very little light. vision, a haze which clouds the darkness, can see merely basic shapes, color contrasts. But it is broken circle / spiral hill. We ginger down the path to it through underbrush which has grown, is growing over it, reclaiming the place in a way RS would surely have loved. The hill is now a rough mound, its clean lines long gone, shrubs growing on its sides, and grass. It was a large, sad heap. Not really sad, but no longer with new shoes, shall we say. The circle was also fading, the water inlet still seemingly intact for most part, the large central boulder still holding, claiming its ground. The jetty was completely submerged, back to the quarry sea like the spiral jetty. Whether it hovered inches below the surface, we could not tell in the darkness. So we came and saw, or rather felt, the deteriorating beauty, the end of everything. Return, return, return. We speak of truths that deteriorate naturally over time, worn out by the sun and moon, the tides. Time stands still, we know, and yet time is all surrounding, a misty beaming stream in which we grope. The changes that come about are as if from thin air. We want, we love, and hate. We gnash our teeth on stones, unwilling to yield. It's unclear if we can yield, destroy the surface tension of the sea. So we feel and are lifted, armed and dropped, dragged under, cool blue, undercover, we believe. We reach, we grab and run. When we assume, we are lost. We know nothing really, and only a bit firsthand, but we assume so much. Take anyone's word for anything. We like the sound of words. They befriend us and slop into our pockets, only later to crawl up and out, slithering up into our throats to clamp down. The pleasure of death. Why, thank you. Have another cigarette and see death jump.
Yes!
Wow, that's like some experimental shit that really worked real.
Yeah, it perfectly followed the poem.
And then I got one other piece I was going to, if that's okay. This is called gaslighting.
Uh-oh.
What is it? And why is it on fire? And what do you call this desire? Fear. The big fear creeping in once more again and again once more. This particle shot to the moon, says Ralph Cramden. And what was he talking about? To what was he referring? That anxiety, that pent-up frustration, that fear. And we know what that all means, don't we? The fear that Tony's will never be open again. One night only, the rebirth. Millions of winos with shit-colored khakis wandering the frozen streets at night. Northwest Portland, Burnside Road, trousers sagging, breaching, lowing to their mid-thighs. Not out of some sort of fashion sense, not out of some gang initiation, tribal recognition, but just because they just ain't got no belt. So the Vespers arrive with the streetlights, time to turn on, time to get gone, time to drink another one. The spirits of the evening, translucent, see through. They see through my everything, arriving right on time, the edge of a knife, sharpened and ripe, ready to slice a jugular vein, ready for blood, ready to kill. Kill this fear. Fear that Tony's might close. Fear that Mike G and Garrett can't get no satisfaction. Fear that no women will show up. Fear that the beer won't sud, the flowers won't bud, and all these poems will fall flat like a dud. Fear that Tommy and Frank won't come back. Fear that Coke might be crack, or a knife in your back. Fear of saying the wrong fucking thing once again. Fear that Walter might die, that pencils might break, that Southwest Washington might get her next big fucking earthquake. Fear of the Russians. Fear of Korea. Fear of social media might just be a way for the government to track us. And if not the government, then maybe Nestle. Or Duncan Hines. Bob Kraft and the New England Patriots. Fear of Tom Brady. Fear of a maybe. Fear of a yes. Fear of her dress. Fear of her eyes as she looks at me to get undressed. Fear of my students. Fear of this teaching. Fear of substitute teaching. Fear of my student loans that I'll never get hired to be a teacher. Of course, my man Kusher be selling apartments in the West Bank like a crack dealer is a pusher on the Gaza Strip looking for a peace but starting off in the Middle East. Bombs go off around me. I must be strapped in a Humvee, riding down the side streets just trying to stay alive in Northeast Portland or way out in Gresham, and in East Vancouver, I'm in a hoopty. Yo, it's a cruiser, cruising down the gut, down Highway 99, $19 motel room, and you hear the sonic boom floating all out above me. Suckers be taking flights out from PDX, looking to break necks. We're not taking any prisoners, but take it back. A tale at a time, gotta find a rhyme, and it all comes back to the word which is fear. Lighting fire with gasoline or diesel, unleaded. I'm thinking only premium. Keep you well fed, head and dead head. Do not remove record. Let it spin on its platter. Those words to you I flatter. Now, Arlene's pushing suds, and Juliet's booking features to read, you know, and Ray's in need of some oversexed and perplexed women. Thank you.
There we go. What a gentleman. All right, next up, Mr. Mike G. Come on, Mike.
Happy New Year, everybody. Isn't it nice that we're still here? Thank you. Yeah. Or maybe we need Scott. Maybe we need Scott here. I got it. I got it. I got to get it out of my way. Chris has given me the great joy to let you all know that the anthology by local poet Josh Gaines, Not My President, is out and available. Do many of you already know about this?
Yes.
Okay, so Josh Gaines raised a lot of money he got poets from all around the country and the world to submit poems against the Trump regime. It's finally out. He raised over $10,000 to get it together. Some of our local poets, Chris is in here, Nathan Tompkins. Anybody else who regularly comes here you can think of?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but it's
At least Chris and Nathan. Plenty of people, plenty of good work. It's available, Josh tells me, as of today at Powell's City of Books this weekend, or at from thoughtcrimepress.com, I believe. And he's sending a copy of this book to every member of Congress, every member of Senate. So he sent one to the president, and I told him, well, you need to get Hillary's address, right? You need to get one to Hillary. So yes, now he's going to send one to Hillary as well. So look for Not My President, the Anthology of Dissent, edited by Josh Gaines, Thought Crime Press. I just started reading it. It's wonderful and probably quite healing. I think it's only going to be about $17 or so.
Are you in there?
No, I didn't submit, but had I submitted, it would have been a a very funny little haiku. It would have been very acerbic, and the 10-year-old neighbor girl would have written it. But not my president. Check it out. Howell's Thought Crime Press. It's going to all members of Congress.
Sign it if I see him.
Oh, of course he will.
Bastard.
Of course he will. Anyway, I have a little New Year's Eve poem. It's called Being the Only Poet, Usher, Intellectual Optimist Working the Double Pink Martini Show on New Year's Eve at the Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall. Overheard at Arlene Schnitzer Concert Hall New Year's Eve. If that goddamn Usher poet says one more fucking time, Happy Miracle Optimism Year 2018, one more fucking time. This poem then begins not with the sucking of skin, but with a baby orphan orangutan clutching a kind human finger. Like a worm through the apple of truth, she says. We're stocking up on tequila tomorrow. Everyone deals with the end times in their own way. Meanwhile, the creative arc shot through the dome that enclosed us, our hand puppets babbling backwards in classical Greek, Helena the backsliding poet offing herself in the pyramid, Eratosthenes charting his grief with shadows and string, a time of booming business for graveyards and birth canals, and firebirds splashing into music, and everywhere light. I woke on New Year's Day, all tabula rasa, newborn amazed, to feel the weather in this skin, all perceptions original again, and putting nipples, beer, cigarettes in my mouth for the first time and wanting more. Meanwhile, diamonds sparkled in the feces of the princess. I've decided the cosmos is against stasis, she says. When death comes, I'll be excited for a change. How's the broken sun fixed with its spilled shine? Straw brains on crucifix where the lightning was, and even rats know not to make a deity of now. We have the past and Pleiades rising on YouTube. The webs we've made have saved us from extinction, with chickens mimicking orgasm. The invader has made her other. The human I love is not within. Give me the death prayer then. They've enthroned me in the hallway to stop the crazies. Behold, my plastic scepter changed the straw to brains. Finally animated, that horrible bright thing that some call the sun, that became one with my eye and burst, now flows a ruin of sewage in my room. And she dances, but it's not her. She is the onion. The onion's deepest layer was once known as the seed of wisdom. You're in a machine now, not a garden, she says. I can't talk to Larry during a Blazer game, she says. He sits there with his beer like a drooling totem pole. Breaking news, an interstellar turd just rocketed through our solar system. Meanwhile, I shall continue no matter what my lifelong comprehensive cunnilingussing of the word. The ice pig shall be vanquished, and our love song shall fly over speed bumps despite Uncle Trumpy's and Kanye's anti-love boys club. It's all about your mental health. Above your nose, you're not yourself. This and other metaphysical fables displayed on signs at the counter DSM-5 protest in a Clackamas alley, the supermoon stuffing its face with Rocky Road and wanting more. My poems try to go to a pre-language land of babies not yet differentiated into genders and colors that make the sadness palpable and divide and conquer possible. She dreamed she was an ornament on a Christmas tree. She wasn't even shaped like a person, but she was shiny, almighty in her light. As the onion rolls through, the labyrinth flowers bloom, and the love coming from the moon could make a mad elephant singing tune. Letter dated 1905, found in Hell's Kitchen chimney. Dear Santa Claus, I am very glad that you are coming around tonight. My little brother would like you to bring him a wagon, which I know you cannot afford. Please bring him whatever you think best. Mary McGann, age 4. P.S. Please do not forget the poor. Further exploration uncovered a response letter. Dear Mary, Santa believes in austerity measures now. Make America great again. Love, Santa. I tell children I teach everything goes into the poem, including the human sink. No war but class war. Her hand has grabbed a rubber plant. She tells the truth but tells it slant. She ain't no silly playground rant. She's scripture. She walks the dog in curly cues, pukes her guts when she gets bad news, bleed her heart and she'll say she's through and destroy you. And when we love, we're like a flower, feed on sunshine and shit on power. Above the mundane, we tower. And what is love? I know the answer if you do not ask, but if you ask, I do not know. I've been 10 years old since the bullshit Mayan non-eschaton 12/21/2012. The 10-year-old neighbor girl says, did you resolve to get healthier in the new year, she says? Fuck no! It's all one big sordid puppet show, she says. But it's interesting. Each year exposed to entropy is interesting. We're each other's interesting saviors, you say. Ain't that interesting? Interesting, the shuffling in tiny circles of suffering. Interesting, the healing laughter and dancing in the aftermath. Our orgasms interesting as ever. Those scalding winces of pleasure evaporating the self in the interesting instant. Interesting how cold it is now and how hot it was then when the thens were hot. How interesting sun gives way to interesting rain. It's interesting getting older in a human body, and interesting the miracle of rising again to meet the interesting day with its interesting role play. Finally, the holographic alien invasion televised sky came with chemtrail microwave popcorn discounts for the shivering courtyard dissidents. 80 questions? Extra butter, please? The 10-year-old says. Thanks, guys. Check out Josh Gaines is Not My President.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, we're going to hear from Rob Syverson.
Yeah. I got it. Go,
You got it?
Oh, go for it.
That's the spirit, bro.
Yeah.
I know, I can screw it.
That's a lesson. Look at you.
Hey,
That's a good
someone
teacher.
pay attention.
I'll try to follow that up. Woo. This one is about surfing, and I wrote it at one of his prompts, or at the workshop. It was one of the prompts at the workshop, so I don't really consider myself like a real surfer, but I sort of like think of it as boxing. Like, so somebody told me there's a parallel between surfing and boxing, and that's kind of how I think of myself when I surf. Is it's like it's just a fight. So this kind of embodies that experience. It's called Euphoric Ride. Paddle, push, wax slides off, eating shit, trying with might to line up the next set. Imagining the riptide taking me to an angelic place. Be still, less is more, don't fight. Glide. Duck dance and dive under timid whitewashed worthless breaks and ride the salt-battered bread goodness like a perfect one-night opiate-laced love affair. The wave won't let you down easy. Place the value on survival and intention. Paddle, scuffle, fight, kneel, stand. Oh, the rush of the ride. The adrenaline can take you to a euphoric wasteland unmatched. Wave, don't take me down easy. I'm finally awake. Thank you. And then this one is from a local poet. His name is Matthew Dickman. I don't know if you guys know him. And I really just like the intensity of it. And it's called Fire. Oh, fire, you burn me. Ed is singing behind the smoke and the coals. His wife near him, the rest of us below the stars, swimming above Washington State, burning through themselves. He's like an Appalachian prince, Henry with his banjo and whiskey.
The court surrounding him and the deer off in the dark hills like the French, terrified, but in love and hungry. I'm burning all the time, my pockets full of matches and lighters. The blue smoke crawling out like a skinny ghost from between my lips. My lungs on fire, the wings of them falling from the open sky. The top of Michelle's long hands covered in dark spots. All the cigarettes she would light and then smash out her eyes. The color of hairspray, cloudy and sticky and gone, but beautiful. She carried her hands around like two terrible letters of introduction. I never understood who could have opened them or read them aloud and still throw them onto her bed and still walked into the street. She was still lit. What little fuse she had left. Oh, fire, you burn me. My sister and me in Southern comfort. Making us singe and spark, the family ash all around us. The way she is beautiful in her singular blaze. My brain lighting up. My tongue like a monk in wartime, awash in orange silk and flames. The first time I ever crushed a handful of codeine into its universe of powdered pink. The last time I felt the tangy aspirin drip of ecstasy down my throat. The car losing control. The sound of momentum. This earth is not standing. Still, oh falling elevator, you keep me, oh graveyard. You've been so patient, ticking away, smoldering, you grenade. Oh fire, for the first time I ever took a drink, I was doused with gasoline, the little ember perking up inside me, flashing, beginning to glow and climb. Thank you.
Thank you. If there are any of you out there who, would like to participate in Ghost Town Poetry Open Mic, and I just want you to know that, for the whole history of the series, we've encouraged people to bring poems by other authors. Poetry is an oral tradition, and these things need to be heard out loud, so that's totally okay. And one of the things that I really love about making space for that here is that it's a way for even people who are not writers to participate. And so it becomes a real community event when we do that. So let your friends know if they have a favorite poem and they have the, have the gumption to get up and do it, they can do it.